Hello, everybody. I wanted to make a video on how to heal anxious, ambivalent attachment style. And it's going to be broken up in points. So I'm going to mention each point and then I'm going to talk about each particular point. But I noticed something on the internet actually, is that a lot of these points are very particular to the fear of abandonment. But that's just one element to anxious attachment style. So I wanted to look at it from a well-rounded perspective. I have a lot of patients who have this attachment style, and I notice trends about them, not just particularly with just how they attach in romantic relationships, but also their self-esteem, socialization, decision-making. And so all of those things are going to be broken into how to heal anxious attachment style. But I want to preface, there are many ways to heal. Working on self-esteem is important as well. Working on connecting with others, being with a more secure partner is very helpful. But I also want to mention, if you are with an avoidant partner, it doesn't mean that you're doomed. You can still heal and stay with an avoidant. Life is very flexible. It's very uncertain, and we don't know what's going to happen. But if you're happy and you're doing what you want to do, that's very important, and be patient with yourself. And so I want to mention the very first thing that I would recommend individuals with anxious ambivalent attachment style is to know your limits. Change doesn't happen overnight. Don't be hard on yourself because you triple text or because you started overthinking or was negative or something like that, or started thinking your partner is cheating on you. Be aware that change is not going to happen overnight, and it's okay to have a little bit of anxious attachment. You're not doing anything. There's so many avoidants that I work with, they don't care. They don't want to change. And so being an anxious attached style, self-esteem is also an important indicator that the individual struggles with this attachment. You have to be comfortable being who you are, which is a little bit anxiously attached. It's okay. By being more confident that that is who you are, you will actually be less anxious because you're becoming more secure by just accepting who you are. So knowing your limits is very important. Some days you need reassurance. Some days you just had a bad moment. You text a couple times in a row. It's all right. It's no one's getting hurt. You're all right. And if there's a little bit of a miscommunication, just clarify, I was in a bad headspace and this is just what happened. I was worried about nothing, or this is what was bothering me. Just stand up for yourself and realize your limits are your limits. And just, I was at my limit yesterday. I'm feeling better now. Let's talk about this. Something like that. Okay. The next step that I want to bring into, or the next, not necessarily step, but the next attribute to healing is socializing more. It is important not to socialize with people who are unhealthy for you. You can if you want, but I don't know how beneficial that's going to be all the time. But it definitely is important to just socialize more in general. Getting out of your head, being more comfortable with different walks of life. Anxious attachment style, they compare a lot. They compare themselves, they compare their relationship, they compare about their job. I noticed that. Look at other people. There are people who are homeless, and I have actually literally worked at a shelter when I was doing my bachelor's, and they are happy. They are happy. And so that's very important to recognize. You can be happy anywhere, and socializing helps you to recognize these types of individuals. There are certainly so many different people in this world. There are so many different ways a relationship can turn out. By Googling something, should I break up, should I not break up, or listening to your friends, you're never going to expose to the reality of life. And as a therapist, I just see so many different lives. Yes, there are patterns, but everybody is different, and that is the beauty of it. And socializing more helps individuals who are anxiously attached realize life is just, the only thing about it that's predictable is that it's unpredictable. Possibly other things, but that is certainly something I realized. And so the next point is getting comfortable with uncertainty. And I think a lot of people already know anxious attachment style and other disorganized attachment, insecure attachments. None of them like uncertainty. Secure people don't even like uncertainty. Nobody likes uncertainty. But I would say secure individuals tolerate uncertainty much more. And so that's very important to understand. By getting more comfortable and tolerating uncertainty, you're going to start healing more. Maybe the worst case scenario will happen, but it's going to be okay or it's not going to be okay. You cannot really change that. It sounds very blunt, but it is true. Getting comfortable with uncertainty is part of life. You don't know if your partner is going to cheat on you. You can never 100% know unless you literally, I don't know, dig and find some sort of item to it. And that's kind of what it is, digging through somebody's phone or looking through their house or their closet or the trash can or whatever you're doing. You're trying to get certainty. You don't know. And that's just the bottom line. But you want to trust them, go ahead and trust them, or you don't. But it's going to cause issues in the relationship. Might as well just trust them. And when something happens, believe and trust in yourself that you can handle it. Believe in yourself. That's really important. The next one is be comfortable showing weakness, right? And I'm sorry if that word's a little bit strange. I notice a lot of anxious individuals don't like admitting that they're anxious. I mean, they may be comfortable admitting it to some extent, but they don't like to admit the behaviors that come into being anxious. I had one patient. I won't get too much details about my patients just because I just will not. I respect confidentiality. I will never break confidentiality. But one patient, a couple of my patients actually, they would show signs of not wanting to admit something to me that they did. Like maybe it could be something as silly as they broke up with their ex, and then when their ex said, okay, let's break up, then they started crying and begging their ex back. Common for anxious attachment. They're testing their partner. They didn't really mean it, or they thought if they pushed their partner enough, their partner would change. And then they weren't ready for the reality. But that's okay to admit that you did that. If you want to beg for your ex back, go ahead. It might not be healthy, but that's part of the process of who you are right now. It's okay. You made a mistake. It's not the end of the world. It's all right. That's why getting comfortable showing weakness. And a lot of my patients didn't want to tell me that was what was happening. So they would dodge it through the story when they were sharing it in our sessions. I had to clarify and then mention to them, it is okay. It's all right. You think you're the first person in the world who has done that? And you think you're the last person in the world who has done that? No. That's just the way it is. You're human. It's all right. The next one. Don't be ashamed to ask for what you want and what you need, right? And so this one can be a little bit interesting because sometimes we don't, and this is true with every attachment style, sometimes we don't always know what we need or even what we want, but getting more comfortable knowing what you need and what you want is very important. And it's also important to know that what you want and what you need will change as you grow. It should. Maybe at one point you wanted to I have some patients, they want to get married before 25. That's fine. But when you reach 25 and you're not married, I think you have to adjust that a little bit, right? So don't be afraid and ashamed to ask for what you need is very important. But also it's about knowing what you need, knowing what you want, and being more comfortable with letting it go. And so that's actually the next point. Don't be afraid to let go of what you want or what you think you need. And so let me talk about both of these points kind of together. I separated them because they are two separate points, but they work very well together, okay? Knowing what you need and also knowing that what you need is flexible. Let's say you really do need a partner who is comfortable FaceTiming you when they're out of town. Maybe before bed. I'm not sure, but I've had some patients that like that. If that's really, really something important and you cannot feel secure in a relationship without it, then don't let it go. That's what you need. But let's say your partner is an avoidant and they don't want to use a label of commitment, girlfriend and boyfriend. Or they've kind of decreased initiating intimacy, which is very common. Some stop completely, by the way. Maybe it's something that you have to negotiate with. It sounds a little strange, and I know because those things they're fundamental to relationships. But if you want to stay with your partner, maybe you can negotiate. Is this something that I can let go of? Is this something I can trust that one day he or she will heal? Is this something that I'm okay with saying, okay, I'm okay now, but maybe later I won't be? Be flexible with those things. Be flexible in general. Don't always be so rigid, because a lot of times behind being rigid is fear. You can say, okay, I'm okay with this, and then in 1 year say, never mind, I'm leaving. That's okay. That's part of life. The next one, the seventh one, is make your own decisions. And I see a lot of anxious attached patients and individuals that struggle with decision making. They're going to ask their friend, what should I do? Should I break up? Should I get this job? Should I leave my job? What should I email my boss? How should I send this text message? They don't make their own decisions. It's very important to make your own decisions. It builds confidence, because sometimes, and I don't even know a case of this, but it's possible that every person will have an opinion and they are all wrong. That can happen. It really can. And they could all say the same thing and they're still wrong. The only person who really knows what's best for you at the end of the day is you. And if you experiment, because sometimes you don't even know. Sometimes time's got to tell you. Only time will tell. But you have to gain confidence in your own decisions. If you want to stay in that relationship, even though you feel like your partner is, I don't know, driving you crazy, but you want to stay, honor that. Figure it out. Learn what happens. Maybe he will or she will change. Maybe they won't. And maybe you're okay with that. Or maybe you want to leave later. Be yourself. Make your own decisions. You want to get that job even though you don't have another one lined up. You just want to end this current job here and you want to search for another one, or you want to change careers completely. That might not be the wisest decision, but have I seen it? Yes. And does it work? Of course, it can. Be yourself. Make your own decisions. You can protect yourself. And if you can't, that's part of life too. You can be cautious. I'm not saying throw caution to the wind. I'm just saying if you feel strongly about something, go ahead and make that decision yourself. You can take input from others, but don't let them make the decision for you. Okay? The next one is accept positive traits about yourself and limit negative self-talk. Okay? So negative talk about yourself. What does that mean? I see a lot of patients say, I'll never be loved. Or I hear them say, I dislike myself, or even more worse than that. Or I don't like the way this looks. Or I wish I could look like this. It seems harmless. At least they act like it's harmless, but it's very harmful. It is very harmful. So limiting negative self-talk is incredibly important, and being more positive about yourself. You know what? I think that I'm a very loyal person that I stayed. Or I think I'm giving my partner a second chance and I trust them. I'm hopeful. Make it positive. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Don't be ashamed. The next thing is take criticism well. Maybe your partner says you're a little clingy. Okay, I know I can be clingy. I get that. I'll back off a little bit. Thank you for telling me. Or maybe your partner says you overreact. Yeah, I know I overreact. Okay, next time I'll try not to. Am I doing better right now? Because I'm really trying not to overreact. Be more open to criticism because it'll help you to become a better person. And honestly, it'll help the other person who's criticizing you to trust you and be able to open up to you. And they can get reassurance from you as well. And that's a wonderful thing in friendships and relationships, in a boss coworker situation, whatever you want to call it. The next one is don't take things personally. Do not take things personally. There's never anything in the world that is 100% personal. And I could be wrong about that, but I could not see how that's possible. Every single person lives in their own world, in our own minds. We can't 100%. Our issue can't be 100% another person. We have our own bias. So nothing is 100% personal. If somebody doesn't like you, it could be them. It could be you. It could be something completely random. If somebody tells you, I notice that you're this way, and you don't agree, okay, I understand that. I just don't agree with you. Just like I was saying, take criticism well. It's also important to know, to be able to say, this isn't really what I am. Don't take it personally. Be able to take it logically. And so the 11th thing I want to bring up is stand up for yourself. Stand up for yourself. If your boss says, I noticed that you're always late, just the only day you've been late, and your boss just said, I noticed you're always late, you can mention, this is literally the first time that I've ever been late. You can look at, the cameras, or if, you have time cards, some, jobs have time cards, whatever it is. No, I'm never late, just today. Because some people will say things they're not paying attention, or they don't know, or they get mixed up with certain things. Or in a relationship, for example, they could say, I noticed that you said this and you went back on your word and you didn't. You can stand up for yourself. No, I didn't go back on my word. I did not understand what you were saying. I got mixed up and I was just agreeing with what you were saying because I thought you were saying something different. It was just a miscommunication. Stand up for yourself. The next one is don't let people tell you how you feel. Do not let people tell you how you feel. This is very important because you will get very confused. Let's say somebody says, and this happens a lot with anxious and avoidant couples. The avoidant will say, I think you're unhappy. Let's just say, are you unhappy? Or I think that maybe it's better that we shouldn't be in a relationship because I think that you're unhappy. Okay. Let's say as the anxious partner, okay, if you want to leave because you want to, you can, but I am not unhappy. I'm just telling you how I feel. It doesn't mean I'm unhappy. When I want to leave, I will leave. I'm not ready to leave yet. And maybe I won't be. Right now, I don't want to leave. If you want to leave, you go ahead and do it. And the anxious partner might, and normally this is what I notice, they will say, no, I don't want to. I just thought you wanted to. But if you were not standing up for yourself, the anxious partner could take that as, oh, the avoidant wants to break up. And then you might start overreacting and then the breakup happens. And I'm sorry if overreacting is a, harmful word. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant that the reaction might be a little bit askewed from what is happening in reality, because a lot of it is what's happening in your head, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's why I'm making this video, to help individuals not do that as much, right? So don't let people tell you what you feel. Don't. I don't feel like that. I'm okay with that. I'm all right waiting. I'm okay if you're not ready to commit, or I'm okay with this. I would like if you did, but I'm okay if you don't. It's okay. I can handle myself. Or I'm not sad. I'm just tired. Whatever people are telling you, stand up for yourself. The only person who knows you is you to that extent. Please remember that. You have to trust yourself more than anybody. That's very important, okay? The most important and long-lasting relationship you will probably ever have is the one with yourself, okay? So please remember that. The next one is learn to self-regulate your emotions. And so a lot of anxious partners, they struggle with regulating their emotions. Let's say they're anxious about something and then they're worried that their partner is cheating on them because they're late from coming home. The anxious partner may text their partner a couple times and they're, waiting on their phone. They're watching, when is my partner going to answer the message? And then when the partner answers, they may be annoyed because there was a couple text messages, or it was just completely fine. And the anxious partner wasted all that time for no reason, at least no healthy reason, right? And so it's important to realize self-regulating your emotions is fine. It's okay to send that text message. If you need to, put your phone upstairs and then do something else. Go watch TV. Go make yourself something to eat. Do something else. Take your mind off of it. It's very important, because not letting yourself self-regulate, you will end up pushing people away, because what happens if you're not self-regulating? You're expecting others to regulate for you, and that can be a heavy burden, okay? So that's also very important. The next one, and I'm almost done. I have just a couple more, and I apologize if this video is a little bit long. I try not to make my videos long, but I felt like this one was a little important, so that's why I made it a little longer. The next one is don't be afraid to be alone sometimes, right? Every human being has moments where they don't want to be alone. That's okay. Even avoidants don't really like being alone, but they'd rather be alone than deal with another person, which is the truth of why they do what they do. They might not admit that, but that is why they're doing it. Don't be afraid to be alone sometimes. It can mean ending a relationship that's not good for you. It can mean just being alone in the house. It can be taking a trip by yourself. It can mean eating at a restaurant by yourself. It can be alone with your thoughts. Being alone is important sometimes. You need to know who you are, and sometimes the best way is being alone. But the reason why I said sometimes is because there's some parts of your life that being alone will avoid one part of yourself, which is how you communicate in relationships. So that's important. The next one, and this one is really important. I wish I could put like 10 stars around this point. This is really important. Please refrain from giving ultimatums. So many anxious partners give ultimatums, but it's a hollow threat. What you're actually saying is, I can't handle this uncertainty or the fact that you're not changing. I can't let go of my desires either. So I'm going to give you an ultimatum to hopefully control the situation. Because a lot of times I see it backfires. I'm going to break up with you if you never change. Okay, break up with me. And then the anxious partner takes it back, but then they're already broken up. So now it's even a worse situation than before. Then it becomes off and on, or now it's like more distance. So refraining from ultimatums. And this is actually one of the points above where I said be open to showing weakness. If you are, letting go of some things that you didn't want to let go of, but you want to stay in the relationship, be honest with yourself. Maybe you wanted, a fancy dinner for Valentine's Day, whatever the case is, and your partner doesn't want to do that. And in your mind, you were like, that was so important to me, I'm going to break up with him or her. Maybe you don't actually want to break up, so why make that point? Because you think that they'll give you what you want. Why not just accept that, okay, I guess no Valentine's Day. That really does suck. Maybe my trust is broken of my partner, or maybe I have a new perspective of my partner. But I know I don't want to leave. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And so I'm just going to surrender and admit it. Okay, that's fine. Because a lot of anxious partners are afraid to be a doormat, or whatever you want to call it. Relationships are not that simple. The power changes and fluctuates. I'm going to give an example, and I'm not going to give too much details, but this, and I've had a couple patients like this, these types of examples really illustrate what I mean. I had a couple patients where they would stay with a partner that cheated on them. And I recommend patients doing whatever makes them feel most mentally healthy. If that's what you want to do, we'll work on healing that. I don't care. Okay. So I had patients that stayed with partners that cheated on them, particularly serial cheaters. But this, I've seen it even with just one, affair, long-term affair. But I saw that these individuals, they're a lot older than I am. So I saw them later in their life. They still have issues, but their marriage is not that bad. And now that they're older, there's not really any of that cheating going on. They're working on other issues. And I've had this with a couple patients, but the partner that was getting cheated on, she just accepted that this is what she accepts. And in my perspective, I found that even more endearing than somebody who pretends that they don't accept it, but then they do. She accepted it. I want to work on my marriage. I don't trust him that much, and it's really hard for me, but I want to work on this. I want to let it go. I want to believe him. We have, X amount of kids. I want to try this. And that is much better than giving an ultimatum that you're not going to follow. Personally, I respect individuals much more when I see that. And I feel like they respect themselves more. So that's just one thing I wanted to mention. So the next one is believe what people tell you about themselves. And I know this one's a little hard to hear. And let me explain that. A lot of people say, believe what they show you, not what they tell you. And that can be helpful, but I would say that anxious partners take that a little too far. Let's say your partner is literally up to nothing, but you don't trust their word, so you're going to search and find something. You might make something that's not really there, it's just in your mind. So why do I say believe what people tell you? If your partner is saying they're not doing anything, just believe them. If they are doing something, it'll probably come out, and then at that point you can leave or you can fix it or whatever it is. But believe what they say. If your partner says they care about you, take their word for it. If they say they love you, just take it. It's okay. You can enjoy. You can be happy. You can be loved. It's all right. Okay? So that's important. And the very last one, don't be afraid to get hurt. You will get hurt. Everybody gets hurt. Maybe it won't even be that bad. Or maybe it'll be horrible. I'm sorry to say that. But by being afraid of getting hurt, sometimes I see patients, either they avoid things or they get more hurt. You're so afraid to get hurt that you avoid what's hurting you, and all it does is bottle it up and make it worse. So don't be afraid to get hurt. Don't be afraid to take the chance. Don't be afraid to trust. It's okay. If it's going to end, it will end. You don't have to end it. You don't have to sabotage it. If it's going to end, it'll end. And if it's not, it's not. And you made it through. And it doesn't have to be in relationships. It can be anything. It's okay. And so that's what I wanted to mention. As I had mentioned, I am a therapist, so I do see patients. I like making videos helping people, but it's really just a hobby of mine. My day job is a therapist. But I appreciate you watching. I hope this was helpful to somebody, anybody, even just one person. I'm happy. But I would like if you would like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.